I know I know that you want to find Lacey, and the second thing you want to do is clear yourself from suspicion, correct? I mean, that is, you want the focus back on Lacey and not on you.
I want people looking for Lacey because they're not doing that right now. And that's why I'm sitting down with you in hopes that people will go, you know what? If I think he had some involvement, if I don't think he had some involvement, that doesn't matter because Lacey is what matters, and she's out there missing, and she needs to be home with her families. So I don't care to defend myself. I don't care what people think of me. You know, as I've said, question my moral character if you want to, but look at your heart, think of Lacey, her picture, baby, and make the effort to bring her home. And that's a simple reality. That's a simple thing we need to do. Just, think whatever you want of me. As long as you're out there and you're comfortable with yourself, that you're doing what you need to be doing to find Lacey and bring her home.
I know.
The question, I mean, this is what you want the focus back on Lacey, not you. The question echoes something he said earlier. He has directly connected suspicions of the subject with the hindered search of Lacey Peterson. He said, I'm glad she came forward because it allows lots of people, I believe, to start looking for Lacey again because it's slacked off because of that, because her suspicion of me. The subject focuses on the looking for Lacey, avoiding the question, indicating the sensitivity for the subject regarding clearing himself of suspicion. So she tries again here. And it makes a lot of sense, actually. Hey, you want Lacey found, number one. Number two, you want to clear yourself from suspicion to free this up. The intention to find Lacey is expected. So in that sense alone, that's good. However, this was an opportunity to say, I want Lacey found. That's the ideal priority, right? The subject is not saying that here. The subject says, I want people looking for Lacey. Why does he want people looking for Lacey? Because they're not doing that right now. The expectation would be because I want Lacey found. And that's why I'm sitting now with you in hopes that people will go, what if I think he had some involvement? If I don't think he had some involvement, that doesn't matter. The subject says sitting, which indicates tension, body posture. Okay. Body posture in a statement in the free editing process, it indicates tension. Okay. Me and my wife watched a movie versus me and my wife sat and watched a movie. One doesn't indicate tension, the other indicates tension. My boss told me, my boss taught me to build rapport with our clients versus my boss stood there and told me about building rapport with my clients. Stood indicates tension. That was an intense conversation. The brain captures it as a tense conversation or a not intense conversation, and the brain will relay it as tense or not tense. Now, the subject is in hopes that even if they think the subject is involved or not, that either way, it doesn't matter. Instead of addressing the concerns about the subject's hope is that people will think it doesn't matter. This is not a denial. This is not an explanation. This is an attempt to minimize the concerns of the public about the subject's actions regarding potential involvement in the disappearance of Lacey Peterson. All the subject has to say is, I had no involvement in the disappearance of my wife, Lacey Peterson. He cannot say this. The innocent makes no quarter for possibilities that they are guilty. This is what is so concerning about this. Did you steal the car? Did you steal your neighbor's car? Well, even if you think I did, right? We need to look for the car. That's not what we say. No. I didn't steal the car. Do you understand? I didn't steal it. The innocent makes no quarter for possibilities that they are guilty. We're not okay with that. No, it's not possible I stole the car. I didn't steal the car. Because Lacey is what matters and she's out there missing and she needs to be home with her families. So I don't care to defend myself. I don't care what people think of me. As I've said, question my moral character if you want to. Lacey is what matters. This is good. However, he's not saying my wife, Lacey Peterson, is what matters. Finding my wife, Lacey Peterson, is what matters. Also, he continues saying, and she's out there missing and she needs to be home with her families. She needs to be home. This is something that a father says about their daughter. This is something I say about my daughter. She needs to be home. The subject is not saying, I need Lacey to come home. The subject is speaking for Lacey, what she needs. What is Lacey experiencing right now? What does Lacey need right now? Is my wife and baby okay? Lacey, please let me know where you are and that you're okay. Also, the subject says her families. The subject is avoiding I or my. This is psychological distancing from himself. So I don't care to defend myself. I don't care what people think of me. As I've said, question my moral character if you want to. The subject has not shown little to no remorse the subject has shown little to no remorse or regret and doesn't care about the public's judgment. It appears that instead of explaining himself and sifting through the concerns, he'd rather dismiss the public's concerns as unimportant, as he doesn't care about them. The subject is okay with questioning his moral character. He doesn't care about defending himself. This kind of dismissiveness and minimization is likely what Lacey dealt with. He alludes to the idea that his moral character could be in question, and yet he has no intentions to apologize or humbly accept responsibility. Again, the innocent make no quarter for possibilities that they were involved. But look at your heart. Think of Lacey, her picture. But here indicates refuting or minimizing what was just said before it, questioning his moral character. The subject tells what appears to be the public to look at their heart. The subject exhibits persuasion here. Please help me find my wife is not what the subject's saying. You need to think of Lacey, her picture, baby. The subject does not say our baby, my baby, or even her baby, but simply baby. This is psychological distancing from pregnant Lacey and Lacey's baby. The mention of her picture is noteworthy. Assuming the subject's innocence, the picture of Lacey would be the focus only to serve as a help guide for anyone who has seen her, to help identify her. The subject saying, think of her picture, may be psychological distancing from Lacey and possible leakage, that the subject believes the only thing left of Lacey is pictures of her being alive. The subject may be exploiting the picture of Lacey Peterson to attempt to persuade the public. When I see look at your heart, think of the children, there's this persuasion. Look at your heart, find it in you to care and make the effort to bring her home. And that's the simple reality. That's a simple thing we need to do. This sounds hopeless. Why? The subject focuses on and make the effort to bring her home. The subject repeats that's, indicating internal stress. That's. The simple reality is to make the effort. A simple thing we need to do. We all just need to make the effort. It signals that we need to go through the motion here. The subject includes himself in this, denoting psychological distancing from his own feelings and thoughts, and denotes a need to connect with the public. Again, the problem is he is attempting to connect with the public and at the same time minimizing potential concerns or questions. I would say obvious concerns or questions. I'm being really nice here. Potential concerns. The subject has also shown a need throughout the statement to tell the public what they should or need to do. What kind of psychological reality are we dealing with here? Hey, I don't care what you think, but this is what you need to do. I mean, this is the signal we're getting here from the subject. Just, think whatever you want of me as long as you're out there and you're comfortable with yourself and that you're doing what you need to be doing to find Lacey and bring her home. Just indicates that the subject is comparing two or more ideas here. Is filler indicating sensitivity and internal stress and psychological distancing from his own perceptions or experiences. The subject reiterates that people can think whatever they want of the subject if they are comfortable with themselves and they are doing what they need to be doing to find Lacey. The subject might be deflecting the judgment from people back to people here. Hey, you can judge me, but I'm judging you. As long as you're comfortable with yourself, that you're doing what you need to be doing. The subject is indicating that he is judging the public. Again, the focus appears to be on the tasks and less on the finding of Lacey. The end, the means rather than the end. Please help me bring Lacey home. This is not what the subject is saying. Instead, the subject is saying, as you're out there and you're comfortable with yourself, that you're doing what you need to be doing.
I know that law enforcement officials have told me that you won't take a lie detector test, that you've wavered back and forth on that. Why?
Well, let me say this about the investigation. I gave you 2 times earlier, 9:30 and 10:30 when the dog was returned here. Investigators on both sides, law enforcement and private, have asked me not to comment anymore about times, about conversations I have with the police, about the possible polygraph, test if I've taken it or I've not, and other, things surrounding the investigation so that it can be clear. So I'm simply not going to comment
On why you're
about
not going
those
to take
things.
it?
I know that law enforcement officials have told me that you won't take a lie detector test, that you've wavered back and forth on that. Why? Well, let me say this about the investigation. I gave you 2 times earlier, 9:30 and 10:30, when the dog was returned here. Investigators on both sides, law enforcement and private, have asked me not to comment anymore about times and about conversations I have with the police about the possible polygraph, test, if I've taken it or I've not, and things surrounding the investigation so that it can be clear. So I'm simply not going to comment about those things. The subject prefaces with, well, let me say this about the investigation. The subject perceives this as an investigation. Why would the subject believe this is an investigation? This may be leakage of the subject's view of law enforcement and that the subject believes Lacey Peterson is dead. The subject from a high elevation would think of this as a missing person. Is she at an old friend's house? Did she run away? Is she in a hotel? Gigi asked about the lie detector test and why he had wavered on it, why he hasn't taken it. The subject focuses on the investigation. The premise with, well, let me say this, is filler and denotes sensitivity to the question and signals defense. I gave you 2 times earlier, 9:30 and 10:30, when the dog was returned here. Indicates a pause, indicating sensitivity. I gave you. This may signal that in the subject's mind, the subject was charitable. He gave GG's these 2 times. He didn't have to do that. Investigators on both sides, law enforcement and private, have asked me not to comment anymore about the times, about conversations I have with the police, about the possible polygraph, test, if I've taken it or I've not. The subject signals that he's following the rules. He's honoring law enforcement. However, the problem is that the subject's not answering the question. Lacey was merely missing at this point. This was not a murder case at this point. This was a missing persons case. As far as the public and supposedly the subject knew, Lacey very well could be alive and well. He's been asked to not comment anymore. If he has been asked, why? The subject indicates multiple indications of sensitivity to times and conversations with police and the possible polygraph test. The subject has an here before possible polygraph test, and then not possible polygraph, and then says, test. And things surrounding the investigation so that it can be clear. So I'm simply not going to comment about those things. The subject indicates more sensitivity with and another and talks more about the investigation again. The subject indicates that if he talked any more about times and or conversations he had with police and or whether he took the polygraph or not, the investigation may not be clear. Why would that be?
I'm not going to comment if I have or have not taken. I'm not going to comment. Simply not going to congregation so that and other things surrounding the investigation so that it can be clear. So I'm simply not going to comment
On why you're
about
not going
those
to
things.
take it?
I'm not going to comment if I have or have not taken a polygraph with the police.
About why you haven't taken it? I'm not going to comment if I have or have not taken a polygraph with the police. The subject, I'm, and the police could not be further away from each other in this phrase. I, police. With denotes distancing when separation of two entities. The subject added the police in there, as Gigi had not mentioned the police.
Life insurance policy. Why take one out on Lacey? 250,000.
We have life insurance policies in place that were established when we bought this home that you're in right now 2 years ago. There was no life insurance policy taken out recently, as has been reported in the National Enquirer, the dubious source of alien information as well.
The life insurance policy, why take one out on Lacey, 250 grand? We have life insurance policies in place that were established when we bought this home that you're in right now 2 years ago. There was no life insurance policy taken out recently, as has been reported in the National Enquirer, the dubious source of alien information as well. The subject was asked why the subject took out a life insurance policy on Lacey. I have a life insurance policy on my wife, Lacey, because losing Lacey would be absolutely devastating. And my hope is that Lacey is okay and that me and Lacey will grow old together. That's not what the subject said. The subject says we have life insurance policies in place. This indicates that both had life insurance policies that were established. The subject shows psychological distancing in passive words. They were established. I didn't take out a life insurance policy. They were established, right? Psychological distancing. When we bought this home that you're in right now 2 years ago, the subject is not talking about why. The question was why? Why take one out? The subject is talking about when. The subject says that you're in right now, signals intensity and potential defensiveness. Gigi knows that she's in the Peterson residence. Also, the subject doesn't say, we are in right now. He is singling out Gigi by saying this. It signals the possibility that Gigi has offended the subject in his own house. There was no life insurance policy taken out recently. The subject is again talking about when, specifically when it was not taken out. As has been reported in the National Enquirer, the dubious source of alien information as well. The subject has responded to an article that Gigi hasn't asked about or referenced, indicating further sensitivity to the question, as the subject is not answering why he took out an insurance policy on Lacey. The subject again signals that the subject has been paying close attention to media. Though he hasn't before had a media appearance, he has been observing it. The hope is that the subject has been too focused on finding Lacey Peterson, working with law enforcement and organizations to be too wrapped up, in that, to be wrapped up in the discourse of media. The subject is indicating anger, frustration with the National Enquirer, specifically underscoring the subject's sensitivity related to life insurance.